Hey, do you know what time it is? That's right. It's time for Coach Lindy's podcast. The podcast to get you moving. Hi, I'm Lindy Hutchinson, a certified life mastery consultant with the Brave Thinking Institute. As a life coach, I help others transform their life as I have mine. It's not easy, but it is possible, and it most certainly is worth it. Each week, I'll share insights that inform, inspire, and ignite in you your desire to create a life that you love. So let's find out what's going on this week. Should you speak up? Welcome to the podcast. This is June of 2026, and we've been talking about suffragettes. Men and women who've been speaking up throughout the ages, actually, and then in our recent history of the last 250 years in these United States, men and women who put their life on the line and sometimes lost their life to speak up. This week, I decided that our power word is action. When we see something that's wrong or something that's not fair, we want to speak up. But there are repercussions about speaking up. And for those of us who are older than probably 20 or 25, we've seen or maybe even experienced the repercussions that come from speaking up against kind of anything. People don't like you pointing stuff out to them, especially if it's illegal or immoral and should be stopped. At the time of this recording, there's a lot of tumult and problems going on because many are protesting the current administration in the White House. Should you speak up? Well, the suffragettes spoke up, and even though it may have cost them in terms of being beaten or starved or even murdered, they changed the world. They've made our life better. But it's a powerful question, and it's something very, very personal. Now, I got a picture off the internet. This is from Wikipedia. I am not paid by Wikipedia, but I do believe in giving credit to where it's due. And this picture was taken. Let me see if I can put it where you can see it. In April of 1985. I'll do it again. That was a little short. Okay, there's a lady, and she's actually hitting. No, he did not suffer terrible harm, but she took her purse and she hit a neo-Nazi protester guy. This was in Sweden, 1985. And her name, if I probably pronounce it wrong, was Danuta Danielson. Now I say was because she was only 38 years old. Excuse me, I'm sorry. 38 years old when this picture was taken, and she did not expect the picture to be taken. That was a surprise, and she did not like her picture being taken because she was concerned about repercussions. And there's not a lot written about her. This was a very personal issue. The neo-Nazis in Sweden, they had gotten a permit to stage a rally, and they did. And of course, there was a lot of commotion. Her mom, Danuta's mom, was a Holocaust survivor. Their ethnicity was Polish, and she and her husband moved to Poland as adults. So when this rally of neo-Nazis happened, she was affected to a point where she swung her purse at one of the guys, hit him. There's actually a video on YouTube. There was no blood. He kept walking. He was like, "What was that?" Young, healthy gentleman. He kept walking. But these skinheads in this protest, of course, ignited in her this emotion. The thing that I found especially disturbing, and according to Wikipedia, the way it's written, 3 years later, she died because she had mental issues and she committed suicide by jumping off a water tower. Okay, so how she actually died, if she had a little help, we don't know, but she was fully aware that once her picture got out there, she was a target. And the fact that she died 3 years later, for me, and this is a personal thing, certainly puts kind of a question mark on that. Although the article is written that it was absolute suicide that she did by herself. We'll probably never know. The thing about it is that she unwittingly became an international superstar. And here is a picture of an artist created this statue. And I believe it's in Sweden. Danuta, the lady, was not particularly happy with that. I can't remember if it was erected after she died. I know her son was spokesperson, and he wasn't particularly happy. It's one of those, yeah, it's nice that her bravery was commemorated. On the flip side, violence begets violence, even if it's just your handbag. But it does bring up some questions. Should you speak up? We know that Danuta was speaking up because her mother fortunately survived, but her mother endured the horrors of a Nazi concentration camp. And we know that millions and millions and millions, over 13 million people, did not survive the Nazi regime. So her mother was one of the few. And you can imagine that she was filled with emotion when she acted and took a swing at the guy with a purse. But something I'd like you to consider is the question, should you speak up? Right now, our government is a great deal of commotion because of the Epstein files. And there are not a couple, but over 6 million pieces of documents. And we know at this point, the government has released only 3 million pieces, and even then they are heavily redacted, which to me is an admission of guilt. If you can't show someone something and what little you show them is all blacked out, you got something to hide. Now, when it comes to the survivors, we know that there were over 1,000, and those were just the ones documented. Human trafficking is a huge problem. It's another form of slavery. And unfortunately, it happens with young, vulnerable, and often economically depressed folks. So their options are few. So the question is, if we see something at work, if we're an eyewitness to something, if we suspect something, should we speak up? Well, it's a moral question, and it's one that you need to consider carefully because there are repercussions. We know that Dr. Martin Luther King spoke out very powerfully against the oppression of Black Americans, and he paid for it. And it wasn't a surprise. He was pretty certain that he would die a martyr, and unfortunately, that was the truth. Now, the good news is there's a lot of persons throughout history who have spoken out against authorities, regimes, persons who were negative and had bad intent, and they lived. Some were beaten up. Many lost their jobs. There was a penalty for speaking up. Now, the good news is we do live in a country, the United States, where theoretically you have freeness of speech. Again, that's another question that's been brought up recently. But I would encourage, I've encouraged my children and I hang with people, my friends, who tend to be very vocal, not foolish. I'm not talking about doing foolish stuff, and I would not recommend swinging a purse at somebody because it was a moment. She had a moment. There are ways of making your voice heard without, perhaps with a minimum of threat to you, with a minimum of consequence. And one, you can do it in groups. We've seen on TV and videos, millions of people currently are in the streets protesting the current actions of the administration and things like with ICE that are unfair, and many areas that need to be fixed. So there is safety in numbers. So if you feel so compelled, you can speak out in a group. There can be anonymous ways. Ever so often you hear about someone who has sent some kind of document in the mail to an offending party, to an authority that could handle it. But the question is, should you speak up? And the moral answer is yes, especially if children are being violated, if people are being hurt, yes. But you need to be aware that there are risks. The power word this week is action. And I've done my speaking out, and I paid for it. And I would pay happily again. I spoke out against an abusive marriage. No one wanted to hear about it or believe it, but I knew what it was true. And that is something I would do again. I would not want to do again, but I would definitely do again. Something that's wrong is wrong. It doesn't matter that it's not popular. It doesn't matter that people will disown you. But it's what you can live with. And also, when you show courage, it's contagious, and that's wonderful. We've talked about all the men and women before who've opened doors, they tore down walls, figurative and literal, to give you and I a better life, and I am grateful for that. So, this week, action. Should you take it? Should you speak up? Hopefully your answer will be yes, and you can do it as safely as you possibly can. So, George Burns, who passed away several years ago, a monumental figure in the world of comedy. George Burns says, "You know you're old when you stoop down to tie your shoes and you look for something else to do while you're down there." If you're young, you probably don't appreciate that, but the day is coming, my friend. So, have a great week. And again, I enjoy your company. It's my privilege to be with you. Keep building your dream, creating a life that you love because you deserve it. And you will impact in a wonderful, wonderful way. Take care. We'll see you next time. Hey, thanks for joining me this week. I look forward to being with you every week. And if you'd like to get in touch with me, please email me at coachlindy@lindyhutchinson.com. My name is spelled Lyndi, so it's Coach Lindy, Lyndi, at Lindy Hutchinson, LYNDIHUTCHINSON.com. I value what your input is, and I'm always open up for suggestions and ideas. If you will like and or subscribe to this podcast, that would be wonderful. I appreciate it. And I enjoy anything that you might want to send in, or if you would like some more information about coaching, send me an email and I will get back with you, and we'll talk about how you can create your best life. Have a good week. We'll see you next time. Thanks. Bye-bye.